Hey guys, it's Edwin here, and today I want to talk about people pleasing and why people pleasers are susceptible to attracting narcissists or to being in narcissistic kind of relationships. Do you always feel that it's your life purpose to make other people happy, aside from yourself, of course? Or do you often sacrifice yourself as long as you make others happy? Or do you just have a hard time saying no because you don't want to upset anyone? Or do you constantly crave validation from others? Or do you feel personally responsible for other people's feelings? If those resonate with you, then chances are you are probably a people pleaser. Simply put, like a people pleaser is someone who wants to be liked by everyone. They just have this difficulty saying no, and they even end up saying yes to everyone in the room, even at the expense of their own needs and desires. They just have this deep belief that making others happy or pleasing others is the best path to acceptance or the best path to be accepted by others. So a people pleaser will often hide their true selves or their true intentions, and they will often portray a false self that is more likable and pleasing to everyone. So deep inside, they are someone else, but on the outer side, they might just be smiling and doing everything just to make other people happy, but deep inside, they are hurting. At the core of a people pleaser is just deep insecurity, emptiness, and struggles of self acceptance and low self esteem. So, what's wrong with being a people pleaser? Wrong in quotes. The thing is, I know you might be asking yourself things like, what's wrong with making others happy? Or what's wrong with sacrificing myself for the needs of my loved ones? Or what's wrong with being nice to everyone? You might even mistaken like people pleasing with being compassionate, but the thing is, a compassionate person is like pouring from a cup which is overflowing, which is already full. But a people pleaser is pouring from an empty cup, and they'll even end up giving up the cup. So that cup is you. A people pleaser doesn't have anything to offer from deep inside, so they keep giving and giving till they're so depleted. And now a people pleaser is creating dependence. So once they get to the point where they cannot give anymore, the dependents will struggle to stand on their own 2 feet because they were used to the people pleaser taking care of their emotional, physical, and mental needs. That's why people pleasing is so dangerous. Also, when you are a people pleaser, you are not authentic to yourself because you project this fake persona just to make others like you or to make others happy, while deep inside you are hurting. So your inner world is suffering, bleeding and crying for help, but you choose to just ignore it and look at the easy path of helping others so that you can escape from yourself. Because actually it can be easy helping other people, but it's really hard to help ourselves. So this means that there'll always be conflict between your deep inside and what you project from your outwards life. Because you may look happy helping those people and serving those needs, but inwards you are so sad, resentful, and insecure. That's why it's so dangerous, because there's a disconnect between your authentic self and your projected outer life. And when you abandon yourself to serve the needs of others or to make other people happy, your life will be filled with so much dishonesty. Because deep inside you feel like doing something else, but your actions are the opposite of what you are feeling deep inside. So the thing is, you'll never be free, and this leads to dysfunction in your life. So what causes people pleasing? I know some people might say that that's who I am, that's just who I am, like I'm just a people pleaser, or that's just how I was created. No, we are not born people pleasers. People pleasing is mostly developed in childhood, where you develop beliefs that your well-being is dependent on keeping others happy, mostly your siblings or your caregivers. And this mostly happens when you are raised in a household which is high conflict or where someone's needs overshadow your own. Some of the households which may lead to people pleasing behavior are places where, like, let's say you were raised in a place where you had to sacrifice your opinions in order to maintain peace and keep your caregivers happy, because your caregiver could not take being wrong. They always wanted to be right. So you just sacrifice yours and make them happy. Or if you're raised in a household where your caregiver was struggling with alcoholism, so you learned to manage their alcoholism. Or a caregiver who was like intense mood swings, so you learn to soothe them and comfort them. Or a very controlling caregiver, so you learn to do just as they wish to avoid unpleasant reactions. Or a caregiver who is suffering, let's say, from depression, so you feel sorry for them and you even feel responsible for their happiness or cheering them. Or a household where parents fight all the time, so you learn to detect a brewing argument and you always rush to stop the fight, which makes you personally responsible for maintaining the peace. So, when you are raised in a high conflict household, you develop subconscious beliefs, or you are deeply conditioned to live a life where you feel responsible for maintaining the peace of others aside from your own, or for making others happy aside from yourself. So, people pleasing in a way becomes a coping mechanism to survive those chaotic environments. So, your actions in adulthood are just a continuation of what you learned when you were young or in the course of your life. Also, another thing to note is that our social conditioning and our general social makeup seems to emphasize more on making other people happy. And they do not lay much emphasis on making ourselves happy first. They lay more emphasis on making others happy aside from ourselves. That's just how it is. Because at times we may even feel that making ourselves happy is a bit selfish or it's a bad thing. So that's just some of the factors which contribute to people pleasing. So why do people pleasers attract narcissists or toxic relationships? People pleasers and narcissists are a match made in heaven. A narcissist is completely focused on their own needs, while a people pleaser is focused on the opposite, which is on the needs of others. So there's just this like magnetic pull between a people pleaser and a narcissist, because opposites attract. So a people pleaser is like south and a narcissist is like north, so they attract. A narcissist will go all the way to get their needs met, while a chronic people pleaser will go all the way to ensure other people's needs are met. So the cycle of narcissistic abuse feeds the insecurity and the lack of self-worth of a people pleaser. And I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why a people pleaser will get stuck in a narcissistic relationship. Firstly, in the grooming phase or the honeymoon phase of a narcissistic relationship, a narcissist will pose to the needs of the people pleaser by validating them, flattering them, and showering them with all kinds of sweet words of affection and approval. And the people pleaser feels appreciated for their caretaking efforts. This is because a people pleaser's self-worth is attached to getting approval and validation from others. So the narc keeps on going and going as the people pleaser keeps trying harder and harder to get a taste of that approval. So it becomes a never-ending loop where like the people pleaser is seeking validation and approval from the narcissist, and the narcissist is giving them validation so that they can supply their own needs. Secondly, people pleasers are unable to set and uphold boundaries, as they just have a hard time saying no, and they are not even aware of their deep needs. On the other hand, a narcissist will always step on boundaries to satisfy their needs, and so the people pleaser will let the narcissist do as they wish in that relationship as long as it makes them happy. They don't want to upset them, and they'd rather like sacrifice those values even when deep inside they feel hurt and are writhing in pain. So let me just sacrifice myself as long as I try to make them happy. Lastly, what makes even a people pleaser get so stuck in a toxic relationship is the fact that when the mask of the narc fades, the people pleaser will take blame and apologize constantly so as to maintain peace in that household. They just turn a blind eye on the abusive traits of the narcissist, and they will even sacrifice themselves further by letting the narcissist use them as they wish. They even go to the extent of trying to fix or rescue the narcissist. because that's the kind of role they've been accustomed to all their lives, just trying to make everyone happy. So a people pleaser will worry so much about their partner's feelings, even when they know their partners are doing nothing about it to change their situation. So that's why they will choose to stay and ignore themselves, because if they leave the narcissist, they will feel that the narcissist will end up being depressed, lonely, or even taking their lives, because the narc may have threatened to take their lives if the people pleaser leaves the relationship. So the whole thing is just a trap which keeps them in a narcissistic relationship. So people pleasing may look very harmless, but it is so dangerous, because it will hook you in an infinite loop of trying to satisfy someone who will never be satisfied. So a people pleaser is trying to satisfy a narcissist, and a narcissist will never be satisfied. But a people pleaser will keep going and going. And that's how someone gets so depleted. So how do you stop being a people pleaser? To stop being a people pleaser, you have to start by focusing on yourself and making yourself a top priority. It's more of just being a little bit selfish first before even thinking about the feelings of other people. Here's the thing. If you put your cup, or if you provide for yourself, you will even have more to share with others. It's also important to be totally and inwardly honest with yourself when you are out there helping people and even trying to make them happy. Are you helping people as an escape from your inward unhappiness, or as a distraction from your insecurities, anxieties, fears, and feelings of unworthiness? That's just a question you can ask yourself, and be really honest with yourself. It's also very easy to confuse genuinely wanting others to be happy and people pleasing. But the only one who can know this is someone who's totally aware of their own deep issues and someone who's authentic. And the thing is, a people pleaser has no idea of what their needs or boundaries look like, and will just have this deeply held belief that it's all about making everyone happy. So being in a toxic relationship is more like an ultimate wake-up call that it doesn't always work that way, because you now end up getting someone who will never appreciate your efforts, even if you keep treating them well. Even if you keep treating the narcissist better, they will never appreciate your efforts. So that's now the ultimate wake-up call for a people pleaser. The thing is, you can be a caring and a kind human being while honoring and tending for your own needs. That's why, as always, the only solution is to go inwards and not to focus so much on the misbehaviors of others while ignoring our own deep concerns. And a common hardly talked about trap which almost all people pleasers fall for after leaving a narcissistic relationship is turning out to be the rescuer of other victims of abuse and continuing their people pleasing by advising or trying to make other victims of abuse happy. You might find yourself spending day and night sensitizing other people on abuse and soothing other victims of abuse. I'm not saying there's a problem with sensitizing other people on abuse. That's a great thing, and the world needs more of this. And actually, I'm doing it as well. But the thing is, it becomes a dangerous thing if you are always finding satisfaction with managing other people's emotions aside from your own. So you are managing the emotions of other survivors while you are ignoring your own. You need to find balance here. Start with people pleasing yourself and having healthy boundaries, so that even when you go out there helping other people or trying to make other people happy, you will not be mentally exhausted or drained. You'll be pouring from a cup which has something. And it will even mean that you'll be more present, and you'll be also offering the best kind of advice, because you are free. That's why people pleasing is not just the things we are doing to the narcissist, it's also the things we are doing to other people. Even when it seems so genuine, or even when it seems that you are really doing a great job in this world. That's why you have to look in the mirror, and then that mirror is like yourself, is like a reflection of your inner world. So if you deal with your own unhappiness first and your own insecurity, at least you'll be far much in a better place. And the more you learn that you are responsible for your own emotions, the more you will even become more comfortable with the notion that everyone else is responsible for their own emotions. And what you can just offer someone is a facilitation, not really making them happy. You just facilitate them, but they are already doing it on their own. Hope that makes sense, guys. Until next time, see ya. Feel free to subscribe, share, and comment.